Hey guys, I'm Dr. Ryan DeBell from the Movement Fix. This is Movement Fix Monday, and we're going to look at how to assess somebody's hip to find their best width for squatting. This video kind of goes with my article, The Best Kept Secret, Why People Have to Squat Differently, and how to take that information in context of everything. First thing we're going to do is have Tia lay on her stomach this way. And what I'm going to do here is check her passive internal and external hip range of motion. And you can see for her internal range of motion pretty much stops right there before it starts pulling her hip on this side off the ground. And then I'm going to check her external rotation. When someone is a little bit more, has a more retroverted hip, they'll typically have more external rotation and be quite limited in their internal rotation. There's a test we can do called the Craig's test, where we feel for the most prominent point of the bone here on the side of the hip, and we check through the full range of motion to see when do we feel that most prominent bony structure. And I feel it right there on Tia. Now, to be considered quote-unquote normal, you should have between 5 and roughly 15 degrees of internal rotation when you feel that most bony part. For Tia, it's more right there. And so we could measure that. You can just see that it is a little bit externally rotated, so that would be one piece of evidence that she is retroverted on this side. Let's see what the other side looks like. Bring that knee in a little bit. So you can see external and internal, it just starts to pull her other side there. If we check for that bony prominence, it's right there. So a little bit retroverted on both sides. But let's check on the back. So go on your back, because these are all pieces of information. It's all movement evidence. One thing is not going to tell you the answer to everything, so you have to take it all in context. So I'm going to take this leg, and then again I'm going to check internal rotation, which just gets blocked right there. And then her external rotation is much larger versus the internal rotation. So when we see that both face up and face down, which is hip flex and hip neutral or slightly extended, and we have the same restriction or same kind of global range of motion, it can give us a piece of evidence that the muscles may not be tight and be the limiter. The next thing we're going to check here is just hip flexion at various amounts of external rotation and abduction. And you can see on Tia that if we go narrow, it just kind of jams up there. And she doesn't like that because it's pinchy. We go here, she has a little bit more. Out here, quite a bit more. So that's a little bit of evidence that she may be better at a slightly wider squat stance. Let's check this other side for external rotation, and then internal rotation just gets blocked. Flexion here versus flexion there, substantially more range of motion. So for Tia so far, I've kind of built in my brain a little bit a picture that she may like squatting wider based on all the things that we saw. But the proof is in the pudding, so let's see what it actually looks like. So let's do a squat from the front and then also from the side. So a narrower stance, kind of like a shoulder width stance. And go ahead and go down. You can see she just pitches forward and do it from the side. And you can see back rounds, pitches forward. There's just no room there for her. Now go wider, and then you go ahead. And she just clears she just has so much more ability to get down there easily, and then go down. And she maintains a better spinal position there. Go ahead and come up. Now the problem is when we misinterpret the information about how bony structure can affect squatting. Because it's not the only thing that can affect squatting. Your ankles can be involved, you have to have full knee flexion, and it is, again, one piece of information to go with the whole thing. When we say you can go wider with your feet, that doesn't mean your knees going to collapse in. So if you go wider and your toes have to turn out so you get better depth, your knees need to track over your toes. So there's 3 principles we have to meet, and that's that the heels stay down, the knee tracks over the middle to the outside of the foot in the squat, and we want the lumbar spine to stay neutral. So if someone goes wider and their knees track properly and their heels stay down, and they can maintain spinal position longer or deeper, that's not a bad thing. So that's kind of how I'm using that information to figure out, is it a good width or not? And then we always test it in the actual squat because that's really where we want it. So the proof's in the pudding, and move some hips around, see what you find. See you guys next week.